The following is a presentation on the UFSN network. Welcome to the UFAFL Nation.
Yes, greetings and salutations. Welcome in to another episode of UFAFL Nation. I'm your host, Michael Skriz. We got a busy show today. We got to recap what was a crazy week in both the UFAFL, and the NFL, with the trade deadlines passing through. Some big moves, especially in the UFAFL. Not so much in the NFL at the trade deadline. There was a couple big trades and a couple big moves, free agent signings, but we'll get to that a little bit later. We got an awesome show today, so we're going to recap that busy week in both leagues. And then we're going to have Commissioner Max Elliot on later on in the show to recap what was a busy week in football. You guys can catch the show. You can catch me at Twitter at MichaelSKRZ. You can follow the league on Twitter at the UFAFL. Follow the scouting department headed by Jamie Thomas, UFAFL_scouting. Any questions for the league? If you have any info that you want, you can message us at info@UFFSports.com. And you got the link there to check out everything else going on at UFF Sports. Don't forget, guys, to check out the UFAFL merch store as well. You guys can get some pretty cool swag with any logos from any of your favorite UFAFL squads on it. You got the tumblers there, you got the water bottles, we got shirts, we got hoodies. Guys, it's getting colder out there, so the hoodies they're going to be a hot item real soon. Christmas is coming up just around the corner. Some nice gift ideas, so don't forget to check out the store and get all your UFF Sports needs. So, guys, it was a really, really busy day yesterday, especially with the NFL trade deadline and then the UFAFL as well. So how about we start with the UFAFL recap, looking at the trade deadline and a couple of big moves that I wanted to break down first. This big trade here, Christian McCaffrey going from the Heat Wave to the Valkyries. And a real big move. You see a lot of draft picks there. Christian Kirk, Quez Watkins, couple receivers going the other way. Jeffrey Simmons, defensive tackle for the Tennessee Titans. Going to the Heat Wave. It's a big move. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey's easily the biggest name there. He's been practicing this week, and apparently he could be playing this Sunday. So that is a big move for the Valkyries, who get an absolute stud running back. Giving up a little bit of depth. I really like Christian Kirk this season and Quez Watkins. They're probably not the number one receivers on their team, but it's a lot of depth, and you definitely need depth in the UFAFL. Jeffrey Simmons, Titans fan, obviously I'm a big fan of his. He's a young guy. He's a first-round pick. The NFL top. He was in the NFL top 100 this past season. I believe he was in the 70s. So it's a big move all around. Christian McCaffrey. Let's just hope that he's back and that the Panthers aren't rushing him back from that hamstring injury, because we know those injuries could act up. Another big deal that I wanted to break down, Justin Fields going from the Canwest Gladiators to the Surf Dogs in exchange for Justin Jefferson. When I saw this deal before, I think this was before the weekend, I was kind of laughing to the Surf Dogs because Justin Fields had not looked good this first couple weeks. But lo and behold, Matt Nagy gets COVID. He doesn't call the plays. And all of a sudden, Justin Fields has his best game of the season. Goes for over 100 rushing yards. Justin Jefferson, obviously a stud wide receiver for the Vikings. He's the wide receiver 21 currently in UFAFL scoring. He's actually 6 spots behind teammate Adam Thielen, but he's like 22 years old. He was absolutely amazing last year, 1,400 yards. So I actually think this is a good, fair trade for both teams. Justin Fields should be around for a long time, especially if he gets a better coaching staff. And Justin Jefferson, like in your home leagues, he was probably a second-round pick in most redraft leagues, right? So I think this is a fair trade, especially for like a keeper dynasty such as this league. So kudos to both teams for getting this deal done. Another quarterback was traded. We got the Circa Sports Trout sending Mac Jones to the Kingsmen for 3 first-round picks. Mac Jones, probably the most steady of the rookie quarterbacks to begin this season. Bill Belichick obviously knows what he's doing, and he's setting up Mac Jones to not fail. He's giving him a good running support system, obviously, And yeah, he's QB 21 on the season, and he should be the future of the Patriots. So as long as Belichick and Josh McDaniels are there running the show, I really like this move for the Kingsmen, who get a bona fide starter for years to come. He might not be a top 5 fantasy QB, but he's not going to kill you, and you're probably going to have him for a bunch of years. And if Belichick can get these guys winning again, then this might actually be a steal. So good for the Trout, who get a lot of draft picks. That team is stacked everywhere across the board, and now they have first-round picks to use. So again, I think it's kind of a win-win deal for both teams. And the last deal that I wanted to get to, this one came in a little bit later. The Raiders tight end Darren Waller going from the Crypto Warriors to the Ken West Gladiators for a couple draft picks, and then C.J. Henderson, Carlos Hyde. It's really weird with the Raiders going on right now. Obviously, the sad news about wide receiver Harry Ruggs and the car accident that he got into. That was breaking news yesterday. They released him. There's a lot of things going on with the Raiders, especially after the John Gruden fiasco. So new coaching staff. Now they're down a wide receiver. So for this season, maybe this means more targets, more catches for Darren Waller. And you're really not giving up too much. So I really like this move for the Ken West Gladiators. Like, Waller's obviously hasn't been as good this year as we expected, but we know he's a freak athlete. We know he's a stud, and he should only just be getting more targets going forward the rest of the season. So I really like this move for the Gladiators to just get a legit stud. So there's a couple other moves that were made in the UFAFL. I can't get to all of them, but we'll talk to Max Elliot later on in the show to break it all down. It was awesome to see all the action going down in the league. The chats obviously were blowing up. I think you guys killed my phone battery while I was at work last night. So it's awesome to see all the movement in this league, and congrats to all the teams going forward. So let's break down the NFL recap from this past week and some actual breaking news before we talk about the Packers-Cardinals game. Aaron Rodgers has tested positive for COVID-19, and he's going to miss the Week 9 matchup against the Chiefs. The Packers have had, obviously, COVID issues as we talk about what happened with the Cardinals on Thursday, because remember, they didn't have Devontae Adams, they didn't have Alan Lazard, they didn't have Marquez Valdes-Scantling, but thanks to that weird interception by Rasul Douglas, they were able to hold on and hand the Cardinals their first loss of the season. Kyler Murray had his worst game of the year. He threw 2 interceptions, especially the back-breaking one at the end there. It wasn't really his fault. But Kyler Murray also hurt his ankle in the final drive of the game. He was seen hobbling off the field, kind of limping. Apparently, he should be okay to play against the Niners this week. This was a massive win for the Packers, though. So they're 7-1. And thank God they won this game, because now Jordan Love's going to start against the Chiefs this weekend. Like, I might not bet against them, but it's going to be a lot harder to win without Aaron Rodgers than it would be with Aaron Rodgers. So they've won 7 straight games since that disastrous Week 1 game against the Saints. I don't think the Packers are the favorites in the NFC, but they might be the toughest team to beat. They might be the most complete, because they can beat you on the ground with Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon. Obviously, when Rodgers and all the weapons are there, like, you can't cover Devontae Adams one-on-one. There's not a single guy in the league that can cover him. So it's a weird time right now for Packers and their fans. You hope that they could weather this storm with Aaron Rodgers, and that this is only maybe a 1 week or 2 week thing. But it sounds like he kind of lied about his vaccination status. So I'm not 100% sure what's going on. I'm going to be watching Adam Schefter's Twitter timeline religiously throughout the day. The next game I wanted to talk about, guys, I'm extremely sad. You can see me. I'm rocking my Derrick Henry t-shirt. Carson Wentz had a disastrous fourth quarter and overtime. A.J. Brown dominated as the Titans moved to first place in the AFC after defeating the Colts. But obviously, that's not the biggest news of that game. Derrick Henry hurt his foot in the first half. You saw him walking on the sidelines with his cleat off. Kind of weird, but then you see him going back into the game, and he ended up with 29 rushes. So as a fan, I was like, okay, well, maybe he's like a little bit hurt, but he seemed okay. And then it came out yesterday or Monday that he's out for 6 to 10 weeks. It's not going to cripple the Titans season, because they have a real big lead in the AFC South. They're technically 4 games up if you consider the tiebreaker against the Colts, or 2-0 against them this year. Jaguars and Houston are not going to challenge the Titans. So this is just a bad result for the Titans and their fans. Offensive coordinator Todd Downing now has his work cut out for him. You're going to get the Rams on Sunday night. Then you're going to get the Saints. The Titans signed Adrian Peterson, who, as a you can't really replace Derrick Henry, but he has that kind of style where you can rush him up the middle. He's obviously 36 years old. I don't think he's going to be able to take 25 carries a game. So the Titans are going to have to adapt their offense a little bit. I expect them to be a little bit more pass heavy. Hopefully Julio Jones can get healthy. But for the number one seed in the AFC is just so weird. Like, are there any good teams? Like, are the Bills the favorite in the AFC? But they lost to the Titans. The Titans obviously probably won't get the number one seed now. They're going to still win the division. I really don't know who the favorite in the AFC is. Obviously, the Chargers and the Chiefs don't look that great. The Ravens, maybe. The Bengals, maybe. The Steelers, maybe. It's hard to see who the actual favorite is right now. I know the Bills are the betting favorite, but they've lost some good big games to big opponents. So we'll see what happens. It was really sad Monday. My phone blew up, all these chirps. Half of them were chirps, some from Andy McNamara, a couple sympathy texts too, but hopefully Derrick Henry can get back into the playoffs. Get well, King. Us Titans fans, we miss you, and everybody who has you on their fantasy team misses you as well. The last game I wanted to talk about, the Cooper and Cooper connection. They lifted the Cowboys to a win over the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota on Sunday night. That's a terrible loss for the Vikings. Cooper Rush in his first NFL start found Amari Cooper 8 times for 122 yards, including the game-winning touchdown. Now, Rush wasn't perfect in this game, but the Vikings were only able to get 2 field goals in the second half. Are the Cowboys the team to beat in the NFC? You can make an argument because the defense has been playing well, especially Trayvon Diggs. He didn't have an interception this week, but the defense is playing a lot better than most of us have thought. And the offense is so dynamic. It's so fun watching that offense because how do you play against them? Because if you drop your safeties back to play the pass, then Ezekiel Elliott and the run game is going to run all over you. And if you play 8 in the box, you got to go against Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb. Dak Prescott can get out in the pocket. Dalton Schultz has been really good for them this year too. Cedric Wilson is making plays. Michael Gallup might be coming back soon. So I still think the Rams might be the best overall team in the NFC, but it's hard to bet against the Cowboys. Like, I'm in this pick'em pool, like a point spread pool, and you basically bet on the Cowboys every week, and you're never disappointed. So Cowboys fans are getting really loud, and I don't really blame them. So they're 6-1 right now. The only thing I have to say is left tackle Tyron Smith got hurt during this game, so you got to monitor that because that O-line has seen injuries before in the past. So watch out for Tyron Smith. He's a big part of that Cowboys offense, and yeah, it's fun. It's fun when the Cowboys are good, and hell, if Dak Prescott comes back this week, then watch out for the Cowboys. So let's get into the UFAFL recap. We all looked forward to this first game, the Circa Sports Trout. Stay undefeated with the nail-biter victory versus the previously undefeated Empire. The Trout get over 70 points from their linebacker spot. And then once again, the running backs, Najee Harris is an absolute stud, as Damian Harris as well for the Patriots. He's been on a tear lately. The Trout definitely undefeated, and then the Empire, they're going to be disappointed this week, especially by Mike Williams' performance, the Chargers wide receiver, especially when you consider the Trout had Justin Herbert going, and he got about 24 points. What the Empire have done so far without like a true stud running back has been very impressive. I was surprised to see them stand pat at the trade deadline. But it's hard to argue with their results. Like they're 7-1. They're going to make the playoffs. Daniel Jones has been really good for them. The receiving core is really, really solid. So congrats to the Trout on staying undefeated. And I wouldn't be shocked if you see these two teams play each other in the playoffs. The Gridiron Seals, one of the early favorites from this season, they suffered their second loss of the season after a disappointing day from their receiving core, as they lose to the Tiger Sharks, who improved to 5-3. The Sharks, they have a nice stack going with Ryan Tannehill and A.J. Brown, my bias aside. But think about it. Like that connection might even put up more results now because of the Derrick Henry situation and the fact that they're going to have to pass the ball more. So I kind of like what the Tiger Sharks are doing. 5-3, decent record. And, yeah, they're looking pretty good. And then the shorthanded Legion also improved to 5-3, despite Lamar Jackson and Josh Jacobs resting on their bye week. That's their 5th win in a row, and they take a 1-game lead in the Madden South Conference. They defeat the Ken West Gladiators. Michael Pittman has been an absolute stud for the Legion. He's now the wide receiver 12 in UFAFL scoring. 30-point performance this week, the 20-point performance the week before, and he gets to play the Jets on Thursday night. So expecting more good things from Pittman. If you got him late in your home leagues, you were definitely laughing because he's probably like an 8th to a 9th, maybe a 10th round pick in most redraft leagues. So keep riding Michael Pittman in your home leagues because he's the true number 1 there, and Carson Wentz just seems to throw it up to him all the time. And T.Y. Hilton got hurt again. He might not be playing again this week, so keep riding Michael Pittman if you have him. The Trout now will go play the Hydra this week. Hydra, obviously 6-2, one of the favorites for the championship in the season. Really looking forward to this matchup. And then, like I said before, hopefully the Hydra can get Dak Prescott back to make this matchup pretty exciting. So let's move to stock up and stock down. Speaking of the Gridiron Seals, their running back from the New York Jets, Michael Carter, makes my stock up. It's been hard to talk about the Jets this season because they haven't given us a lot to talk about, especially on the positive side of things. But if you look at Michael Carter's numbers the last 2 weeks, especially since Zach Wilson got hurt, that's the big thing here. So the last 2 weeks, he's had 43 touches, 275 total yards, most of that coming on the receiving end, 162 yards of that. And he's been on the field for 70% of the offensive snaps. You're not seeing Tevin Coleman out there as much. So I just think with Mike White there at QB, like he's just targeting Michael Carter. He had 14 targets last game against Cincinnati in that upset win. I'm not showing Zach Wilson is coming back, but you're hoping he's watching the tape and seeing like, hey, the offense moves better when I find this guy, when I dump it off to him, and maybe that's how we should be running our offense. It's like, I don't know, but Michael Carter, especially like with all the running back injuries that are happening, like if you lost Derrick Henry, you might be able to go get Michael Carter on your waiver wire. He wasn't a high draft pick because his teammate, Javonte Williams, he went in the second round. Both went to North Carolina. But like you look at Carter's numbers, like his PFF ranking, he's getting up there. He's 6th in elusive rating. Like who would have thought that? Like he's hard to tackle and he looks really good. And with if Corey Davis is still out, that's more targets for Michael Carter. They don't really have a true alpha number 1 receiver demanding targets. So really like Michael Carter going forward. But speaking of running backs, my stock down, I'm going to talk about the Eagles running back situation. So Miles Sanders, the starter, he's still out for another 2 weeks. So Kenneth Gainwell, he was a popular waiver wire target last week, and he definitely disappointed. The Eagles ran for 4 rushing touchdowns against the Lions this past week, and he didn't get any of them. Jordan Howard took 2. Boston Scott took the other 2. Kenneth Gainwell got like 13 touches in the fourth quarter, but that was all with Gardner Minshew playing quarterback. Jalen Hurts wasn't even on the field. So it's kind of a bad sign for Kenneth Gainwell. So I don't really know what to do with this running back situation. Like if Jordan Howard's going to get goal line carries and Boston Scott's going to take touches away from Gainwell, like you can't feel confident playing any of these guys. And then even when Miles Sanders comes back, is he going to get 20-plus touches a game? He didn't before the injury. I don't expect him to do it after the injury. The Eagles are a very weird team because they're not going to be favored in a lot of games. So you're going to want to play a pass-catching back when they're down. Is that Gainwell? Is that Miles Sanders when he comes back? I just want to avoid this situation altogether because the Eagles have not only been disappointing, but they're a weird team because Jalen Hurts isn't a good NFL quarterback, but he's a good fantasy quarterback. So aside from Jalen Hurts and maybe they're tight ends in a pinch, but you want to play, but I don't know, just avoid the Eagles running backs altogether. So then for my best bets, this will be the last thing before we get to Max. Obviously, the Empire made me look bad last week. I thought they were going to get crushed by the Trout, but they covered the spread. And this week, I'm going to take an underdog. When I checked last, the Silverbacks were 77-point underdogs to the Blockchain Bounty Hunters. Silverbacks, 5-3. They have 2 wins in a row. They're only averaging about 40 points less than the Blockchain Bounty Hunters this season. George Kittle should be coming back this week as well. And they have the Tua Devontae Parker stack that actually looked pretty good against the Bills this past week. Like Parker had 8 catches, could have had more. I think he had 2. He had 1 drop, I know, over the middle that was kind of bad. Would have got him about another 15, 20 yards. But I just think this spread is kind of high. Bounty Hunters, they're playing well. They're first in they're playing, like I said, they're playing really well. They're obviously better than the Silverbacks. They have more talent. You got Patrick Mahomes and Ezekiel Elliott over there. But I just think the spread's a little bit too high. So I'm going to take the Silverbacks this week to cover that spread. So we're going to take a short little pause here. And then when we come back, Commissioner Max Elliot is going to join the program. So stay tuned.
Hey!
And welcome to the show, UFAFL and AFLL Commissioner Max Elliot, the birthday boy. Max, I know you celebrated your 30th birthday this week. Congratulations. Happy birthday, pal. Thank you for taking time for joining us.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. And yeah, I'm feeling that dirty 30, man. I'm feeling it. Feel it in my bones.
Well, I know you spent most of the day just catching up with all the trade deadline stuff happening in the UFAFL. So I wanted to bring you on just to kind of recap the trade deadline. Obviously, there were a lot of moves made. Were there any moves that kind of surprised you that happened or didn't happen maybe this week?
So I would say one of the biggest things is, Stormbreakers with Defiance there, Calvin Ridley getting traded. So that was pretty big there. I know the news came out recently about, Calvin Ridley. So it looks like someone capitalized on that, traded them away, got some draft capital, and I believe Humphreys in return as well. So they get a serviceable receiver, but a nice first-round pick as well. But with that recent news about Calvin Ridley coming out, that was one of those ones that kind of stood out to me there. Pretty crazy, not to have Calvin Ridley in the league right now, but I hope all goes well for him and he gets his issues that he's having taken care of. It's more important than his health and well-being for sure.
Yeah, for sure. For people that don't know, like Calvin Ridley came out, I think it was like Saturday or Sunday, like it was right before the game, and he said that he had to take some time away because he's dealing with some mental health issues. And yeah, obviously you pray that he just gets right mentally first. There's things, life's more important than football at times, and you just hope for Calvin Ridley. And you got to think, like, he's in the 4th year of his like rookie deal. Like, he's about to get paid. Like this was a big year for him. So for him to take the time away, like, obviously he must be dealing with stuff. You got to look at it from a football side too. Like, that's a big hit for the Atlanta offense. Like, they didn't look good this past week because now you have to, you're going to double team Kyle Pitts. Matt Ryan, loses a weapon too. Like, I had them in my stock up segment last week, but obviously I didn't know about this Calvin Ridley news. I wouldn't have put him there because now it puts that offense in a bind. But yeah, you hope Ridley pulls through. So Max, obviously, a lot of big moves going on. Kenworth's Gladiators have been super busy. A lot of quarterbacks being moved, especially some rookies like Mac Jones got moved, Justin Fields got moved. I really like the Justin Fields, Justin Jefferson trade because I think it's kind of a win-win. Justin Jefferson might be better now, but Fields look good without Matt Nagy calling plays. And I honestly think, as far as fair trades go, 1-for-1, this is as pretty fair as you get.
Yeah, I think when you first initially look at it, you're like, whoa, Justin Jefferson, for, Fields, I know Fields hasn't done a ton yet in the NFL, but I think he just gets better and develops. And I think over time, he's going to become a serviceable quarterback, especially, with his athletic ability as well. But I think when you first see it, you're like, whoa, Justin Jefferson for, a rookie QB, but overall, in the long run, I think, having that QB there as your franchise QB is going to be critical. So I do think it was a really actually fair move, and I think it's gonna pay out for both teams in the long run.
Absolutely. So Max, you've obviously been busy dealing with the UFAFL. How do you think it's been going the first year of this new adventure? Obviously the chat's blowing up. People are taking this very seriously. It's a full-time job for most people in this league. But as the commissioner observing everything, how are you perceiving this league? Is there something is there anything you'd like to change? Is there anything more you'd like to see happen with the UFAFL going forward? Is there anything maybe next year you'd like to implement into the league? Through the commissioner's eyes, I'm just curious on your perception of the league and if there's anything you'd like to change going forward.
I think there's going to be growing pains in our first year for sure, but overall, I think just the bigger picture of the league is what's going to be important, and just I envision us, being on ESPN, esports, you seeing us up on the betting tables and at the Circa Hotel in Vegas and everything like that. That's my ultimate dream, and I think we'll get there with time for sure. So. I just really want to see us, grow our fan base. We've got the league set now. We got our teams. We got our owners. We're developing the platform. Now it's time to really push that fan base. Which I think all the teams are trying to do. I see us all over Twitter. I know I'm posting on Twitter. Andy's posting on Twitter, and just about every team in the UFAFL seems to have a Twitter, and they're posting their weekly matchups, their players of the weeks, and everything like that. I think it's really just about drawing a fan base now, to start following, and I think we're getting there. I'm looking at some of the Twitter pages, and I'm starting to see a pretty significant following on some of the teams. So it's good to see. It's refreshing. Like I said, just some growing pains the first year. I think we'll get through that, and then we'll just be even stronger as the years progress, for sure.
Yeah, social media might be the next step for the UFAFL, especially when you have the names that are involved in this league, like a Michael Vick, like a Chris Carter, like some of the hockey guys like Ryan Malone, Marty St. Louis. Like maybe it takes some of those guys to pump this a little bit more. Maybe you might need to hire some like social media managers. I'm not too sure. Like I don't know what you guys have been talking about behind the scenes. But yeah, like as for like the fantasy part of it, like it seems to be going well. Like maybe the website can get updated faster, but like that's just a
Right.
small complaint for a guy who does research for the league, right? Like that's just one guy talking. But no, man,
And I know we've done a recent update on there too, so it's getting better with
see
time for
it.
sure. And hey, I did make a football TikTok as well, so we're on TikTok now.
Oh, I saw Andy Mack is doing TikTok too, and like that's just funny to me. For like I've known the guy for almost like 10 years now, and to see that guy on TikTok, oh boy, is if he starts dancing in like Brown's gear, then I'm gonna lose my mind. But Max, man, I wanted to thank you so much for taking the time today. You're obviously very busy, still dealing with some stuff from the trade deadline. But go enjoy the birthday, man. Like have the birthday week. You've definitely deserved it. And thank you once again for taking the time, and we'll definitely chat down the road.
Yeah, hey, I appreciate you having me on, Mike, and you have a good one. Thanks for the birthday wishes as well.
No problem. So, guys, thank you once again for tuning in to UFAFL Nation. You can catch me on Twitter at MichaelSKRZ. You can follow the league at the UFAFL, the scouting department there with Jamie Thomas. The Twitter account is there once again. And then, yeah, all the info at UFFsports.com. You can email us questions, thoughts. If anybody knows a social media manager for Max, let us know through there. And thanks once again for taking the time. And I'm going to pour one out for Derrick Henry. Get well soon, King. And we'll talk to you guys next week.